Hey everyone, I've been tasked with the introduction. I'd like to thank everybody for logging in today, and we hope to have some exciting information for you. First, I'm going to do a little bit of housekeeping. I want to introduce our host, and the first one is Greg Walters. A lot of you probably know Greg. Worked with, has developed and founder of Death of the Copier many, many years ago, and is now a publisher and does the Greg reports for AI and many other reports that he publishes on a weekly basis. Our other host is Kevin Neal, and he is our tech guru, and he is with TWAIN Working Group. A little bit of background on TWAIN Working Group. They are a nonprofit organization that specializes in scanning applications. So we're here today to show our to develop our proof of to show you our thoughts about a proof of concept to bring a service and supply robot to office equipment dealers and OEMs. All right. This is there's going to be an investment to and that can be applied to ongoing project costs. But how this all came about is for the last year or so, Greg and I have been doing a Friday show for Ask Us Anything. And in the Ask Us Anything shows, we've been actually going deeper and deeper into AI, and especially AI for office technology space, office technology for how it can integrate into dealer services and especially sales services. And we've actually been working with a couple of dealers on how you can use AI for prospecting for sales. And it was about a couple of months ago, we had this meeting and we had this talk track between Kevin, Greg, and myself, and we started talking about how some of the problems in the MFP business, and especially with technicians. Technicians are aging out. The average age of technicians is older than it's ever been. It's very hard to get new technicians because there's just not that. How can I say? I'm stuck for words here. They're just not looking to get into the copier business as a career.
Right.
Right?
Right.
So so that's been some of that. Dealers are pressed with reducing margins, reducing margins and reducing margins. I just said that, reducing margins. But we went about this this idea when we started talking about it, and we thought this would be great if we could develop a supply and service robot that could alleviate some of the mundane tasks with that office equipment dealers are experiencing with their support and services of copiers and printers.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. All right. Can I pick up from there?
By all means, you're next.
Sure. So, just to give it a little more color on it, our journey, which kind of mirrors our industry's journeys, is a past, present, and future. And like Art mentioned, for about 12 to 18 months, we've been helping sales teams develop the large language models to help them sell more, right? And if you don't, it's just AI to help salespeople sell more. And along those months, we started to see some other needs in the industry. Our industry typically likes to make or to sell things that are hardware and things like that are easy to sell, but are in the customer's world 24/7 or 8 hours a day. Regardless, as we've been moving into the LLMs, and as I've been watching, or we've been watching the AIs, the robots, androids, humanoids are starting to get a lot of more attention, and there's a lot of buzz out there. We won't get deep into that, but we saw an area twofold that our copier dealers could take advantage of initially, and that's what today is all about. I'm not going to get in there. We've got some great presentations to talk about that. Um, but it really is much bigger than what we're going to be talking about today, and it's not 10 years away. And that's why I say past, present, and future of this project is only 18, 24 months, right? The cycle has been really fast to get us to this point. Um, Ideally, we'll talk about today, but the future that we've also working on with this consortium, this group that we've got together, is looking at how we can help the dealers diversify. And we're talking more than just water service, EVs, wide screens, wide format. This next transition goes beyond analog to digital, beyond monochrome to color, beyond Novell networks to the internet. This thing is going to be huge, and there's a great opportunity for this channel, our dealer channel, to really take advantage of that. And today's discussion is the very, very first step for that, because we're working on this. We're also establishing relationships with other types of OEMs that don't make copiers, but don't have a channel. So that's a little taste in what's coming down the road. But today, I mean, Kevin's going to tell you about this. It's a cool little thing. It's not unapproachable. I'm not going to steal his thunder, but pay attention, see what you guys think. And when we say it's a prototype and a proof of concept, it's a prototype and a proof of concept. We could have done this on the back of a napkin yesterday. That's how so quick everything changes. But this is an organic thing that we think might resonate with our team and our players. Kevin, go ahead.
Exactly. So as we move along here, we encourage comments or questions. So Aaron's monitoring the Q&A, and as I'm presenting, then Art and Greg will also be monitoring that. So there's just questions that come along. We want to take them during the presentation as they come along and they're timely. So today is all about that. And there is some late breaking news, but I want to get that in when we get there. So this is a project that Greg and the TWAIN working group and Art have been working together. So Art has already introduced us. So Print for Pay Hotel, they're a good partner of the TWAIN working group. They're a media liaison partner. So probably a lot of people on this call might know Art and his website, but it's a very focused website on the MFP ecosystem. So there's OEMs that visit, there's ISVs that visit, there's dealers that visit. So from the TWAIN working group perspective, Art and Print for Pay Hotel has been a great way for us to get more exposure with the MFP ecosystem. But let me just talk about the TWAIN working group, because there's half of the audience that I saw on the registration list that kind of knows Art's ecosystem or is part of Art's ecosystem, but doesn't know that. So the TWAIN working group is a nonprofit, as Art mentioned. We're about 25-year-old, so we work on membership fees in order to fund our activities. And basically, we're like the HDMI of the scanning industry. So we connect hardware to software. So when you go to connect your audio and your video equipment, you don't think about that connectivity. It just happens. HDMI is a group that has invented a standard to connect hardware and software for TVs and radio systems and receivers and imagine the ecosystem around HDMI. So that's what we do. We're TWAIN, and we've created a new technology called the TWAIN Direct, which is an API version. So but really, what's the important thing? We develop open source specifications, but we are a collaborative membership group. And I think that's what Greg and Art really are. Their consortium that they're developing wants to have that same kind of collaborative kind of environment, enthusiasm, where the outcome isn't exactly 100% known, but we're going to do some research, we're going to do some innovation, and that's what the TWAIN working group does. So we do it for the betterment of everybody's careers and to drive more revenue for the companies that want to participate in our projects. So we don't make final projects from the TWAIN working group perspective. We create a specification, somebody goes develops a TWAIN driver that then goes into a software application that they might create or a hardware device that they create. So we don't make final products. So we need the ecosystem, and we want to drive innovation for revenues and people's careers. And basically look at us like we're expanding into research. So like LLMs and AIs might seem like too far from our core competence, but it's really not, because people, even in the AI and LLM business, they know that they need to get data. And so much of this data is still trapped in hard copy not even digitized. So they got to get it digitized, they got to OCR it, and then use that data. Okay, so we're finding a whole new renewed interest in OCR and data capture. So it's really good for our industry. So that's where this project comes in. And then we have 3 projects: TWAIN Classic, TWAIN Direct, and PDFR. Okay, so and then Greg and Arne kind of mentioned this, but I live vicariously through PowerPoint, so I always have to draw a picture of the partnership here. So Art's been a good friend. He's been inviting us and Greg to their podcasts for a long time. So we've been participating in their podcasts because their membership and their ecosystem wanted to know more about scanning because they're experts on print and multifunction devices. But scanning, even though the devices both scan, they're very different ecosystems and different technologies. So there was a thirst, and Art and Greg did the right thing. So we would participate and we would offer our expertise because we had credibility. We understand that ecosystem. Now, vice versa, we understand the single function devices very well, and most of our membership is single function manufacturers, but we want the MFP ecosystem to also understand the benefits of TWAIN, even though they use it, but we want to get exposure for TWAIN Direct. So Art and Greg had an expertise in that ecosystem. So there's a natural kind of media partnership. So we announced an agreement to become liaison partners for media, and that's what we did. Art came to our conference last November, and he participated with everybody, and we had a really good time. And we agreed to do marketing stuff together. Then most recently, the TWAIN Working Group introduced our own AI LLM project. So we're going to take the data from documents, so we're going to scan documents, OCR them, and then put them in an LLM system for things like chatbots and search and knowledge bases. So we're going to do that. Then Art and Greg said, hey, you know what? We're interested in robotics. And just like Art and Greg just said, there was this kind of need for robots to possibly go fix and resupply copy machines. So this is a natural extension to have a little robot. Again, like Greg said, this is a simulator. I mean, it's a little tiny, little foot tall robot that will be able to go around and touch things and move things. It has movement, but it doesn't have giant arms that could pick up heavy toners and big paper, paper stuff. So it will simulate supply and repair. Art, did you want to say something about it? Looks like you came off mute there. Okay.
No,
Okay.
just wanted to come off mute. That was it.
Okay, so we're setting the stage here. So we've got this project called, and it was kind of a funny play on word. I always monitor Art's LinkedIn activity because it's always fun. So Art put a thing on there, and he said, basically, when you call the copy repair guy or person, and you need service on your machines, there's nobody there, right? Because as you just mentioned, they're aging. They have a specialized skill. Nobody comes out of trade school and like aspires to be a copy machine repair person anymore, right? They're doing other things. They want to learn how to repair robots and develop robots and use AI and LLMs. So kind of a funny thing, he said there's crickets. So he named this project Crickets, right, Art? So it's kind of a
That's correct.
funny origin of the word. So I do want to break the news. Art and Greg always find it interesting about news. And I was just before this event, and it might be a little dated when people watch this recording, but I just saw that OpenAI made their biggest acquisition ever, 6.4 billion for a hardware device company. And it was Johnny Ive, I think is his name, and he was one of the designers of the iPhone. So the reason I bring that up is showing that one of the biggest AI companies, OpenAI, is now getting in the hardware business. So this natural kind of confluence of hardware, AI, and LLMs with robotics devices and hardware is happening in earnest, like quickly, like Greg said, there's no stopping it. Okay, and I'm sure that will be a topic of your show on Friday. Ask Us Anything. So we want to create a robot. So if that's the defined problem, we don't have enough copy machine repair people. So Art's created a project called Cricket. And when you call Cricket, it's going to be a robot that's available 24/7, 365, but it needs to be trained with specialized skills. So it's going to be available all the time. It's going to have specialized skills. So this is a project that the TWAIN Working Group is helping with their new consortium. So we will have the TWAIN project, but their consortium will continue. So Cricket is a part of that. And basically we'll be able to train this robot to simulate going over and taking out the toner or taking staples to the machine. So it's not going to be absolutely do these tasks because we would have to spend lots of money on the robot itself. That's not the intention of this. The robot itself is going to be good enough to move around, move around obstacles. If there's something in the way, it can navigate around that. It might be able to pick up a small piece of thing that represents staples and represents toners. So at the end of the day, we just want to create the brain for the robot that then tells this off-the-shelf robot to do certain things. And it can learn stuff like, hey, Greg, what's your favorite color? Or Art, what's your favorite football team? And let's talk about, your fantasy football team, right? So training that intelligence of the robot and training the specific devices it has to maintain and the uniqueness about those devices is what we'll be training, is the key learning on here. Okay. So this is going to be a little robot, but the point of learning AI and creating data sets for LLMs, to me, this is a skill that we're all going to learn together as part of the collaborative effort that's transferable to a lot of other use cases. It's not just training a robot to fix a copy machine, but there's office tasks, getting coffee, being a therapy robot. I mean, that's a big thing where, people come in after a rough weekend and they're not going to be productive employees on Monday because they're in the dumps, right? If they could talk to somebody and a robot could be non-judgmental, right? Or something like that, right? So there's a lot of use cases. It's just infinite possibilities. So what we're doing is very focused on this use case for simulating that. But again, it could do other office tasks that are letting your employees keep doing the work that they want to do and servicing the customers, like go get coffee. It can go get coffee instead of that worker getting up and going get coffee and then, do small talk for a half an hour. You could say, go get coffee and bring back coffee. So this robots could be capable of infinite things. So again, we're just got a very defined use case. But you will learn the AI use case, training the data sets, collecting the data sets, cleaning the data sets, similar to like we do with data capture and OCR, right? There's a process to it. And that's why the TWAIN Working Group and our ecosystem is very well qualified to gather the data, organize the data, because you can't just throw a bunch of data in a LLM and it just figures it out. It still needs to be organized in a way. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's not there yet. So there is a process involved, and we're going to learn that together. Cricket is a cool project because it's not using public cloud. It's not using OpenAI. It is a self-contained GPU LLM system that is basically like a mini computer, and it could be mounted on the robot. So it's all an edge computing type device. So that's very important, is that this is kind of an open platform that we'll learn together that you could build upon too. So that's very important. We will use as much open source stuff as we can. So there is ways that we could use almost all open source, except for the hardware. There's a cost to hardware, but we use a lot of open source. If there's companies that want to come in and contribute your proprietary technologies, it's going to help. Maybe you're an OCR company, all right? We could use your OCR. If you're a storage company, or if you're a security company, if you want to contribute something to the project, then we're open to all ideas. Okay.
So Kevin, let me see if I can clarify real quick what you just said, because I think that's kind of important. So we've got a conception. We don't have a conception. We have an actual piece of hardware that has on board a system that we can quote teach, and similar to if it is an actual LLM located on the device itself. And then if I train it to do certain things, that LLM now could possibly be transferred into other devices and other things like that. Is that a correct statement? It leads me to believe, because aren't we developing, if someone gets into it, they're developing their own IP under that LLM. Is that correct?
That is 100% correct. It is. It's basically a little tiny NVIDIA server. It's just the size of a little kind of mini PC. It's a little 4x4 box, basically. It's got a web interface. It's got an LLM on there, so you could put your own LLM or use open source LLM. We're using Llama, Gemma, but you could use other versions of it. And then the specialized training on it. So this is your IP. This is your IP that is transferable to a big data center if you want. But what we're learning, what we'll be training is the basic of a basic LLM, but your unique LLM on top of that with the vocabulary and the ontology and the dictionary and the synonyms with our vocabulary that we use for copy machines.
Okay.
That's exactly right. So you're developing IP. That's very important, Craig.
Okay. Okay. And in the backup, LLM is just a large language model. That's what the acronym stands for. It is the best way to think of it. And I'm really not dumbing it down, watering it down. It's just a piece of software that is out there that communicates with you in the real world and the machine. Put it that way. It's real
Right.
simple.
That's right. And it's a foundation for natural language. So you could talk to a machine like this robot in natural language. You could say, hey, you could train it to, hey, go fix Greg's machine. And it knows Greg's machine is this one and where it's located and all. So you have to train it. So in this project, it doesn't just happen by accident. Cricket's just doesn't come out of the womb and knows how to fix these machines. Has to be trained. So if you reverse engineer this, we're going to get an off-the-shelf robot that has a lot of functionality. It knows how to move and it's got predefined routines. So this is going to be done already, but we need to ingest documents from TWAIN sources. From maybe I have a hard copy document about all the Sharp machines, and we'll scan it. It'll say these are all the Sharp model numbers, right? So I can understand if I say a Sharp, whatever the models is, it can understand it's a Sharp machine, and then I can dig deeper. Oh, I need to know the error code for this Sharp machine, for example, right? So we need to get all the data and feed it, and it needs to understand people. And this is the IP for dealers. Your dealers, the manufacturers are not going to know about Cheryl and Art and Bruce in your business. And maybe you want to train the robot to understand who those people are and a little characteristics and know their birthday so the robot can sing them happy birthday on their birthday and make the work environment fun. So we're going to teach you how to gather all that information and personalize this robot. So a lot of that is from documents, but a lot of it might be just taking a spreadsheet and uploading it to the LLM. But the point, this is TWAIN's contribution. We're going to get data from documents. Then we're going to create the intelligent brain through AI and natural language processing and LLMs and AI. So then we'll create some automation routines to say, you know what, Cricket, go resupply Art's machine, and it will know that again, Art's machine is a Canon, and I got to go get this kind of toner for that Canon machine. So through natural language, you don't have to like be explicit about the kind of device and where it's located. So the whole idea is there's a process to get here, and we're going to train the brain. Again, the robot itself, the hardware that moves and picks up stuff, is a result of us training it, but that's not the important thing. The IP that you're going to develop, training the brain, is really the most important thing that I want to say about the project. Okay, so this is kind of a funny simulation. I always get like criticized about this because it's a little bit of funny, but it's also kind of serious. So imagine an office worker says, hey, Cricket, please put more paper in my MFP and bring me a coffee in return. So it's simulating an activity to resupply the machine, but it's also demonstrating an office use case. Like I said before, that worker can stay at her desk, keep doing her work while the robot's doing the task of bringing back the copy. So she said in natural language, go get me the paper. So Cricket goes and picks the paper from the supply room. Then eventually, maybe it can open the tray if there's a more sophisticated robot, right? Open the tray, put the paper in. So she saved all that time. Then Cricket is done. It says, and it's been instructed to go to the coffee machine, to the office coffee room when it was done putting the paper in the machine. So it's going to say, she loves Americana with the double pump, and pick it up in the supply room. Again, saved all that time. So she's working, she's being productive, and let the robot do all that work. So, that's saved an hour's worth of her time. That's, generated more revenue, more customer satisfaction, all the benefits, and the robot. Then the robot says, okay, I'm done. I'm going to go back and I'm going to go charge myself so that I can just keep taking these commands all day long. So just to kind of, this is what we want to do. We want to train it during our project, train it to do these simple tasks that simulate, again, a prototype, simulate different activities. And then through our project until October-ish, we want to come up with different kind of use cases. Just based on a few people I've talked in the consortium, they've come up with some really unique but very obvious ideas, not to me, but to them, like pick up paper from the output tray. I wouldn't have thought that was a use case, but it is. If you do secure print, you want to pick it up before anybody might pick it up from there. So it can be modified in a lot of different ways. So this is just a little animated depiction of a few things, but we could add to it and say, do this task, do this task, do this task. And we need to train it to do those things because it's not smart enough to know where it's located and how to move it and all that kind of stuff. So that's what it will do. We'll probably this is a 3 paper tray kind of MFP. So it has color detection. So we could have one paper tray that has a little red dot, one has a yellow dot, and one has a green dot. Touch the one with the yellow dot so it has enough intelligence to know which paper tray to open. So we're going to simulate that. Okay. Is there any questions so far? So this is the platform. So it's portable and expansive. Portability, just like we talked about, it's a private LLM on a GPU system, right? So this thing has storage, it has memory, has GPU. It's not intended to be production. It's a developer's kit. But for our purposes, we're just going to train it for simple things, right? And we're not overly broad. But you could take this thing and you can expand it. So you can add servers to it, memory, storage, whatever. But the point is, what we do in this project, it's not like you have to throw it away. In fact, just the opposite. You could take what we've done and you can leverage it to do much more meaningful things. And we will learn together how to do that. So expandability and portability is very important because a lot of people want to do this, but they don't know where to get started, right? I have to use a public cloud, like I have to use OpenAI or Microsoft or something. And oftentimes that's a non-starter because I'm not going to feed them all my personal data, right? My birth dates and other kinds of stuff. So this is a private portable, so it's an IP that you own, okay? And if you buy into this project, we'll even ship you that server and you could be using that server and putting your data on that server. We never see it, but you will develop that, okay? The training, we think this is extremely valuable. Again, we are not experts on AI. We are not experts on LLM. I don't think anybody is. Anybody that claims to, I think loses credibility instantly because an expert today is going to be an idiot tomorrow. So, training to do this, we will learn together. And then whatever people want to contribute back to the project, I suggest that we make an open source version of a MFP vocabulary, right? And make that an open source data set that we can provide to the industry of model numbers and manufacturers, just things that people can go gather on their own. It's not, it's publicly available stuff, but we've done the work to gather it and organize it, and then people can use our data set. And there's places you could publish your data set. So that could be a contribution. It can be tailored towards different vertical markets, and that's what I would like to see, is that we're giving you a horizontal platform, right, for this one use case. But if you want to make other kind of office environment use cases where you're letting the workers be more productive, right? So maybe you can have a robot maybe go to the truck that's delivering materials, pick the stuff off the truck and go put the resupply the supply room. Or maybe there's a robot that can go wash the car so that employees don't have to go spend time washing their car. They can get that done by the robot at work. Just thinking off the top of my brain, there's all kinds of things that you could do that are tailored. You could do vertical market solutions. Maybe this is a robot in a hospital. Maybe this is a robot at a auto car dealership, right? And it walks around and it greets the people. You could do all those things. So this is really leaves it up to your imagination. So, and there's lucrative markets. Like I just said, 6.4 billion OpenAI buying a device manufacturer. It's not when it's going to happen. It's happening right now, this second. Like just before this call, 6.4 billion spent on a device manufacturer. So the marriage of hardware and software is coming together so fast you can't believe it. So markets for Cricut. So really, I don't think there's one specific vertical market. It's for small business, enterprise, or general office use. Small offices. It's not going to cost a whole lot to do these things, to train the LLM. It's just a matter of learning how to do it. So I don't think it's exclusive just to, the people that could spin up a massive $100,000 infrastructure to get your AI and your LLMs going. That's not the case. There's tons of open source LLMs. You can create your own AI. So I know the big cloud hyperscalers don't want me to say that. They want you locked in their ecosystem, but really, this is an opportunity to democratize and own your own AI, own your own large language model. I keep saying LLM, but really the new thing is small language models, right? So you develop your own small language model that's tailored towards your vocabulary, your understanding, your industry, your use case. Obviously, enterprises might, have more, resources to do this, but general office, like I said, talk fantasy football, get coffee. So there's probably a general office use case, tons of them that can be applicable for this. Okay, so there is a cost to run the project. So for the project, the TWAIN Working Group was originally asking $12,000. It's a 6-month project. You get a lot of value, so you get to participate in our weekly meetings. We have a technical meeting every Wednesday morning at noon Eastern, and you will get a year associate membership to talk about this project for 6 months, but we're not going to just leave you hanging. We want you to participate for 6 months after as well. So that's a $3,000 value for associate membership. You'll also get a membership to Art's website, Print for Pay Hotel. So you get those two things that you can participate in as a member. You will get the weekly meetings from the TWAIN Working Group. And then I would assume you also get the consortium when Art and Greg have a schedule for the consortium for those meetings. You will get the AI LLM software, like I've been talking about. You will get a hardware component, a little mini server that is all yours. It's all your stuff, your private hardware. So you get a web server application. You'll get the open source LLM. They do have open source OCR on it. I don't know if the quality is really good because I come from OCR, but it's good enough, right? For a very nice, clean document, it could do OCR. So you will get that. You'll get the technical knowledge on how to do it. And what we can do is do a lot of good documentation. So that's totally within our control. So we will document everything. We'll do nice PowerPoints that you could use for marketing. We'll do technical stuff, the admin manuals, demo routines, user manuals, user guides. So that's well within our control. We will create marketing materials. So this demo routine, PowerPoints like this, so that you could take this and internalize it and say, hey, we participated in this project, but we've got this use case, right? So you can customize it without reinventing the wheel. And then we're going to create a case study, a solutions brochure, and a press release. And then you will get the actual robot too. So we'll buy a robot. We could ship it to your facility. You could start working with it, or we can program it and then ship it to you at the end of the thing. That's what we will determine. But you get a lot of this for Print for Pay Hotel and the Consortium ecosystem. We will give a $2,000 discount because, as I mentioned in the introduction, Greg and Art have been great about introducing us to the MFP ecosystem. So because they've offered so much value, we want to pass that on as a discount to their members. So it'll be a $10,000 project. And this is the timeline. So we do have a definitive end time in November. And in November, the TWAIN Working Group is organizing a business and a technical showcase. So we've done this 2 times in the last 2 years, and they've been great events. It's been previously called TWAIN Direct Developers Day. But because it's becoming so much more business, we have a developer track and we have a business track. And in November, we have this conference. So this is the end goal. But what we'll do is now we're doing presentations like this, where we're introducing and onboarding members. So if you want to participate, then we invite you to participate. There's a lot of different ways you can add value to the project. If you're an end user organization, maybe you contribute, I want to be a use case where we can develop this and you get the benefit of actually using a robot in your environment, training it with your people, with knowledge of, your employees on your activities. So you'd have like a robot ready to go as if you're an end user. And then there's software companies that could participate, hardware companies that could participate, solutions providers, dealers. So the whole ecosystem is invited to participate in this. But right now we're onboarding, we're defining specifications of what's required. So I imagine every meeting that we have every Wednesday morning, there would be assigned tasks, homework. So you go gather all the information on Canon devices, and you go gather the information on the Konica Minolta devices, right? And then you define what 10 activities this robot should do. So everybody will have responsibilities that participate in this. So we'll design the initial spec. We're gathering documentation. We've actually been doing this for the last couple of weeks already. So we've already officially launched it, but now it's time to come in. And then we've already started feeding our own LLMs and testing it out. And sometimes it doesn't even get, when you feed it data, it's not always accurate. You have to do reinforced learning. So you have to tell it in an aggressive voice, no, this is wrong, right? So there is, and I was participating in some LinkedIn healthy discussions this morning about data quality and having to clean up LLM data. And somebody said it's like 20%. I said, well, it's probably a lot more than that. But anyways, so you have to constrain it. Okay. So this is going to happen May to July. And then what we're going to do in August and September, we're going to have an early prototype. So the robot, we'll have bought the robots. We'll be training them. They'll do the basic commands. We'll train it some uniqueness, to understand people. It's got cameras, so it could maybe even do facial detection and say, hey, Greg, it's nice to see you this morning, right? Instead of you even initiating a conversation. I don't know, we'll scope the effort based on the specification and the interests of whoever's participating in the consortium and the project. So we'll define tasks, we'll feed it, we'll provide the learning materials from it, all the different sources, and we'll make the common open source LLM, we'll start training it, okay? Then October, we're going to have something working. So we're going to start finalizing the project. We're going to say, you know what, we've frozen the spec kind of. It does these things. We're going to start preparing the case study, the use case, based on what we've done over these couple months. And then we're going to start basically preparing for the Converge conference, because we want to be able to go there and say, this is how we did it. These are the things that we did. This is how we collaborated on it. And this is what didn't work, right? Just as much as we wanted to share that learning is like, okay, we helped you cut corners because, feeding a data set into the LLM, you should do this, right? And this is the challenges we experience. And this is what we got wrong that we don't want you to waste time on, right? So those learning experiences, we'll create a final presentation. And then on November 13th, we've got a space at TWAIN Converge. So TWAIN Converge is our conference, and it's at a place called Safety Harbor Resort and Spa. It's a really nice place. And here's a picture of a couple years past where we were doing the technology side of it. So here I can imagine the robots will probably be in the same room. The robots might be running around, and you can interact with the robots and ask them to do something. We'll have some machines there too, hopefully, by some of the contributing consortium. So we'll have their machines there, and we could say, hey, go resupply this machine, and they'll actually understand what to do, and they'll go over there and do it. So, and then people can interact. These robots can actually learn from what you tell it too, verbally, right? If you say, it comes over and it doesn't recognize you via facial recognition. Oh, I don't know who you are. Is it okay if I learn who you are? And then you'd have to give consent. I'm Clara, and then it could say, oh, Clara, nice to meet you. And then from there on, it's learning, so it can learn. But at Safety Harbor, we've got a jam-packed agenda, and down here at about 2:15, we've got a project update where we want to share a case study for 45 minutes. Again, everybody on the panelists that's contributed to the project would be on this kind of panel and presentation, and we will make a 45-minute presentation to the audience. So this is going to be a great activity. And then we have our showcase for an hour and a half after that. So you can imagine this will be a continuation of, you just heard about the project we did, now interact with the robots that we have trained, and you can actually talk to them and train them and ask more questions. We can continue the conversation while we do the showcase for Developers Day. So that is the project. So in summary, it's a $10,000 buy-in. And if that's too much of a heartbreak, then please talk to Art, Greg, myself. And if there's value other than just the financial, because there's a lot of ways you can contribute, then talk to us about it. But either email Greg or Art or myself, and we will get you the details. Basically, we just got to, go over some of the, expectations, basically. There is a website here also that I'll put in the chat that's just got you know, this is the information. Here's a little video on it if you wanted to share with your counterparts. And then you just fill out the form. It will go to us and then we can contact you. So I'll put that in the chat now.
I
Art,
got something,
yeah,
Kevin.
go ahead, Art. Yep.
Yeah. So we've been talking about this quite a bit over the last couple of months. And one thing that Greg and I and Kevin agree on is that this little project is just the start for office equipment dealers. We believe the next movement for copier dealers it's not only starting with these little robots, but it's from 2030 to 2045. We're going to see mass market in humanoids. That means no manufacturer who manufactures, of course, a humanoid is going to manufacture a robot or a humanoid that's going to last forever. It's all going to be about planned obsolescence, right? They're going to need firmware. They're going to need wire harnesses. There's going to be moving parts. So if you're a copier dealer or an OEM and you're thinking about, okay, how can we prepare for the end of print? Because, more than Greg and I and Neil have been talking about this with the advancements in AI, we think that end of print is going to happen quicker than we ever thought it will. And we believe dealers have and OEMs have with it's just starting with this little project. You can cement your legacy for your company or your OEM moving forward with another service that replicates the copier industry with those consumable items.
Perfect.
Craig, you had something, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would just echo what you just said. It is the ultimate diversification as we see it coming. And get a little bit in the details. Right now, there's maybe 150 firm or OEMs out there in the US that are serious about quote robotics, androids, and humanoids. There's three different kinds. Don't want to get into that right now. Robotics are usually what you are used to seeing in manufacturing plants. They're bolted to the ground and they might use wheels to move around. Androids are bipedal, but they're still pretty task oriented. Humanoids have a little more agenticness to them. They can make decisions. I'm not gonna say autonomously, but more, they're more connected to the real world around them. But I will say this, in talking to those guys, they're really engineers, builders, private equity and VC firms right now. They don't have any visibility in true blue go to market in the terms that we have, right? I mean, the machines are going to have to get delivered. They have to be installed. There has to be a whole sales cycle previous. And we're not talking robots in the home like Rosie. These are robots, office buildings, one robot per 2 floors, manufacturing plants, blah, 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 blah. They're all B2B solutions. There has to be an assessment. There has to be a sales motion. There has to be financing. Well, that would include hardware, software, training, all in one monthly payment. There has to be dispatch for on-site service technicians. People have to know the difference between a help desk and a service desk, between final goods inventory, supplies inventory, and warranty parts inventory. All that stuff we do.
Yep.
Right? So it's a perfect match. Again, we believe this is just a teeny tiny inch into that realm, right? So that you can have a walking. I don't think the robots talk, do they, Kevin? But
they have audio. I don't know. Good question.
okay, well, and it's a walking, talking example. You're going to go through a great learning curve, and you're going to have a deploy. I mean, I'm thinking of the tech show in January. If you've got this little robot walking around, talking about the future with your prospective clients and your prospects. And this is what we've done. This is our project, and we're looking to go even more into robotics in the next 3 to 5 years. That's a wonderful talk track. So I think it's a great fit. And
Right.
this is just the first start.
Can you also imagine investing in this little robot and having this robot in your demo room to greet people coming into your office, or to greet maybe new people who want to gain employment by by your company, and you say, hey, not only are we into office technology, but we've also developed the robotics division,
Right. To
right?
attract technicians or people that are more, how do I say this? More likely to respond to fixing a robot than, replacing a fuser or stuff like that, right? I mean, if you're looking at brand new workforce people coming out, it is more attractive to someone that say, hey, we've got Robbie the robot back there, but we're going to need to train you on how to service it or whatever, right?
Right.
We're into robotics here, and if you want to be part of that future, we've got a path for you, that kind of stuff.
Right. So before we get into just the questions, I just want to make this did some research on AI just last night, and I want to talk a little bit about Henry Ford. And his vision was clear. He said, I will build a car for the great multitude. That vision revolutionized transportation by making the automobile affordable and accessible to everyday people, turning cars into from a luxury item into a necessity. We believe if Henry Ford were alive today, he wouldn't be focused on putting a car in every garage. He'd be working to put a robot in every workplace. Just as he pioneered the assembly line to bring the cars to masses, Ford would see robotics as the next frontier, and that's what we see this as. This is the next frontier for office equipment dealers and OEMs. That next frontier, a way to democratize productivity, eliminate mundane tasks, and empower workers to do more. Affordable, functional, and human-assisted robots will be our next Model T. So we're going to open it up to questions.
Yeah, I think there was, I'm going to answer one, Art, while anybody else puts a question. Can you give attendees an idea of the audience profile from Converge? Okay, so at Converge conference, past couple years has been primarily people focus on scanning applications, which still is going to be 50% of the attendees, I think, this year. But we are broadening to more general AI, LLM, and data, again, data from documents for AI, LLM. And we don't want to be a me too. We definitely don't want to do that. But so we want to add value. But we have use cases of using documents for document comparison, for using AI for that kind of stuff. We will have industry analysts that everybody recognizes. So there will be media there. There will be analysts. We're going to do an analyst briefing panelist session. So if you're in it to develop technology, yes, we will do that. So there's going to be developed technology. We will be able to train and learn and do those things. But it'll be probably 60% business people, 40% technical people. There will be key decision makers. There will be key analysts there. So it's going to be a big, it's not like a giant, trade show. It's going to be 75 people total. So it's intimate, and we want to do that by intention, because if you get, everybody that knows Erin she's an expert events coordinator. If you get any bigger than that, then you lose the intimate kind of conversations. And everybody said, whoa, I definitely want more networking time, more conversations with the attendees. And we are going to fill the agenda with some very good expertise. Last year, as an example, we had National Archives. So there was people from the National Archives, and they told exactly what they want. This is the specification what we want, blah, 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 blah. And they were very engaged with the attendees. Then there was a forensics person. He said, this is what we want, blah, 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 blah. And so excuse me, we bring those kind of people that are going to talk to you and tell you what kind of, trends that you as a supplier or a dealer, what kind of things will help you sell your stuff and be more strategic to purchasing decisions. Let's see what else here. From the OEMs, are you looking for the core technical information of the MFPs versus dealers? What would provide more use cases and applications? I would say
What's the
we don't
question?
Lou asked, from the OEMs, Are you looking for the core technical information of the MFPs versus dealers that would provide more use cases and applications?
Okay.
I would say we don't really need the technical detail, right? Because again, we're not going to be able to open the machine and replace the toner. We're going to simulate this activity. So I would say the real use case, like picking up the paper from the exit tray, again, a simple activity, but think how many people do that, right? They do secure print, they forget to go pick it up, and it's sitting there, and oh, look at all these social security numbers, and look at all this, financial data that somebody printed off and forgot to pick up, right? So that's a real use case that we could solve real easy with our robot. So I think the personalization, I think that's more important than the technical details. I think the OEMs that can just give us a data dump of all their error codes and their schematics guides, and we can just dump that data eventually into the LLM. So I think that's the easy part
Right.
to check off.
And as they further develop, they come on board and they develop their robots, then they can put in their technical documents and their tech documents into their own brain.
Exactly.
Right.
Yep.
Right. So it looks like Amir's got a question about a cricket with not just pick up, but can it, copy and scan and deliver to each desk? I mean, it's a use case. I mean, the answer is yes. Right.
So let me expand on the Greg. So
Yeah.
I talked about picking up the paper, but this is a use case articulated to me by somebody in your consortium, and they said secure print. And the use case, and hopefully the person listening to this gets credited for this because it's not my idea. But he said there's an executive on a golf course, and they need to secure print, right? So they have their mobile application, they want to secure print, but they're not in the office to go pick it up. So imagine they say secure print. It doesn't go to the printer. It goes to Cricket. Cricket goes over. Cricket gets close enough to the machine. It uses like near field communication or RFID. I'm at the machine now. You're okay to print. I'm going to give you my secure print code. The robot initiates the print, prints it out, picks it up, then takes it to the executive secretary, for example. That's what somebody, a big, dealer in this industry said that use case. And so those kind of things where like I would have never imagined it because that's not the life I live and the use case I would never thought of, but that's very important. And just imagine the catastrophe if this confidential document starts floating around the office space, right? The people are jealous and all of a sudden I'm not getting paid enough, or oh, I got social security numbers, I can go put that on the dark web and make a second career out of leaking data. So Amir, yeah, yeah, just not picking up prints, but that's what we want to get from this project. What kind of activities do we want to train it to do? And that is a perfect use case. Is go in, move over to the machine, authenticate to the machine, initiate a scan or initiate a print, and then pick up the paper and then take it somewhere. Just that's the extent of what I imagine we can get done.
Have we got another question from Ravi?
Yeah, Rafi's got a great question, and Art and I have been discussing this for the last 36 months. But in the use case, are we, will this replace technicians? I think is the ultimate question that Rafi's posing with robots. And Art and I have gone around with it from the very beginning. I always said, well, you'll just have a robot fix the robot, right? And then ultimately the robots will self-heal. I do not believe that anymore. I mean, but that's not in the next 5 to 10 years. And I'll tell you what did it for me is I was watching I forget whose Android it was, but it was in the back room how they were preparing it to do a demo, and there was a guy in the chest plate with a ratchet. Right, he had a ratchet wrench in there, and it became obvious to me that okay, yeah, these robots have 100 or more servo motors. Some of them have hydraulics. All of them have electronics. All of them are updated and right now they're plugging some port into something somewhere and doing an update. All right. So there is plenty of time for technicians who will work on, go from working on A3 and A4 to bipedal and robots. What has happened in the last 10 to 20 years is that there's been more technicians than robots. There's been more employees than robots. It's just that wave is turning. All right. So it is, and I'm not just out here whistling in the dark. a lot of people believe that the shift over to servicing androids is the next cusp. If you think about it, right? You just used Henry Ford. I almost said Gerald Ford. Henry Ford as an example. There were people sitting around. Well, are we going to still keep making wagons? I mean, what about all these wagon people and these wheel manufacturers? They're all going to go out of business. Well, it shifted into automotive service centers and things like
Yep.
that. I mean, that's a real rudimentary experiment or example, but I think we're looking at the same thing here for at least the next decade. And you can't right now you can't predict out more than a year, but that's the way I feel it's going to be. And I think it's going to
Right.
be a huge wave of these installed devices that are going to need that kind of talent that we have.
Right. How I see the initial again, this is just a proof of concept, but once you get into that proof of concept, I believe these robots can be a valuable tool in enterprise locations, right? And I believe with more sophisticated arms, right? More significant, maybe a robot, maybe a little bit bigger. I believe dealers can, in sometime in the future, have a robot running around that will replace toner cartridges, replace staple cartridges, fill paper, do screen calibrations, and take a lot of those mundane tasks off your everyday technicians who are needed for that more dedicated MFP type of repairs. That's what we see this Cricut, even though it's a proof of concept now, you can build it better and make it your own. And the you can even get into a robot as a service business as well. So there's a lot, I believe there's a tremendous amount of opportunity here.
Yeah. There's only one cautionary red flag for me is, and you kind of swerved into it, the OEMs. There are going to be firms that don't believe they need a channel or anyone to do anything, and these are the big Tesla type manufacturers, and they're going to go for the enterprise. I don't believe that to be true, but I think it's a concern. So getting in as soon as you can right now is probably, I think that might be the most paramount issue at all. Whether you get a Cricut or not, I say get a Cricut, but getting in somehow, getting a piece of, jumping on this boat as quickly as you can, because there's going to be bigger boats coming down the pipe. Anyway.
Yeah, and
I
I think,
mean,
just my 2 cents on that is I think that device manufacturers probably, I don't know, I don't have any insider information, but I bet they're all working on robot projects, deep in their labs or something of some sort, right? So they're going to come out with some robotic stuff, but the personalization that the dealers and the channel can provide is really super important. You're going to have a general functional robot, but you're going to have to train it, you're going to have to train it the location of devices and I want these devices, not those devices. And then you're gonna have to update it a lot, I bet. So there's gonna need that first mile is super important, and that personalization and that knowledge. The manufacturers are not gonna have that ever, right? So they really need a channel for this kind of robotics, androids, whatever you want to call it. So yeah, great opportunity. So so you could join the project right away. We're gonna have, we have our meetings every Wednesday mornings, like I said. So you can get started right away. Just call Greg, Art, email Art, fill out that form that I put in the chat. We'll contact you right away, and then you can begin as quick as next week. So that's how fast we're moving. And then in November we will showcase this. So if you even want to do it for a marketing activity or sales activity, or kind of to have an AI thing that you're working on, that you could then tell your organization, get some excitement within your organization, get some support for it, get some support for you personally as being a thought leader. That's very important these days. And you don't have to go ask for much, right? You just need to contribute something to the project. So there you go. So hopefully we can get a lot of different companies participating and a lot of different good use cases and make this a great project. Okay, so we're 1 minute over, unless there's any more questions. Art, Greg, I'm gonna hand it back to you for final.
Art, you want to take us out or you want me to take us out?
take us out, Greg.
All right. Thank you very much for coming aboard. I hope that I know it was. All right. Again, just the very beginning. Thank you. Get back to me, Art or Kevin, for more information on Cricut, and go with Cricut right off the bat. Let's see. It's Monday, or it's not Monday, Wednesday. Have a great week. Have a great summer. And thanks for coming in. See you later.
Everyone,
Thank
we thank you
you.
very much.
Bye
Enjoy.
bye.
Thank you.